Here with reaction is Iowa Congressman Steve King. Congressman, thanks for joining us. You don't see a lot of Democrats come out and criticize Obama in any way at all. We were just talking about that a minute ago in an earlier segment. And here you see Max Baucus, decades-long Democrat, going right after the president's policy. What's going on?
Well, in that neighborhood up there in Montana and North Dakota, you can see that they understand the economic development benefits of the Keystone XL Pipeline. But I've also seen in Congress that the members of the parties will tend to adhere to the policy of their president. And if the president isn't willing to support that pipeline, a lot of members of Congress that don't understand why not will still oppose the pipeline, just like the president has.
Right.
He spoke to us in conference there a couple of days ago and implied that there would be a decision within the next couple of weeks.
I mean, this country, I think we can all agree, and economists agree, would be in a depression right now if it weren't for domestic energy discoveries and new technologies that have created this remarkable energy boom. Does the White House understand that, do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a pretty broad term when we say the White House, but you have a lot of environmental extremists that are there in the White House too, and they believe that if you are burning hydrocarbons, then that's going to increase the CO2 in the atmosphere, which increases the Earth's temperature, and we have climate change, which used to be global warming. That's the force that's pushing back against the Keystone XL pipeline, but there is no rational argument to oppose it, and I think the president knows it, and he's in an opposed situation with the labor unions on one side, environmentalists on the other side. Both of them support him. He is going to have to decide, especially because the two senators up on the border, especially Senator Baucus, have taken the position that they have.
Well, it just shows you how vitally important to the president the environmental lobby is. I mean, he's helped greatly by organized labor, and as you said, they've been on his side. But do you think he sincerely believes that we're going to power America, 315 million people, with algae and wind farms?
I think the president is directed by the political forces, and I don't know if he has an opinion on this from the standpoint of how we're ever going to energize America or keep America's energy in place if we don't continue to develop hydrocarbons. Another thing that I reflect on this topic, Tucker, is just a year ago at the CPAC convention, I sat down with a couple of members of the Canadian Parliament who told me that Prime Minister Harper was already back from China, having negotiated an agreement for Canada to be exporting oil to China, and that requires a pipeline going west through the Cascades out to the Pacific Ocean. It's had a couple of problems since then, but this president blocking Keystone XL Pipeline is forcing Canada to sell that oil to China, and that's a national security issue, and it's a national disgrace that he would do that.
Well, what kind of upside-down world are we living in when the Canadians appreciate market forces more than we do? When we're getting lectured from Canada on how capitalism works. Did you ever think you'd live to see that day?
Well, you know, I apologize to the Canadians from time to time for the way we treat them, but, you know, we blocked the meat coming out of Canada and forced them to develop their packing plants up there and export more meat. The North American market is no longer the North American market. Softwood timber in British Columbia, because of the pine bark beetle, has been blocked out of American markets, and now we have this situation where oil from northern Alberta is being blocked out of the American markets. It's no way to treat our neighbors, and the Canadians are teaching us a bit of a lesson, and I think we ought to learn from that.
I never thought I would take a lecture about the market from Canada. It's unbelievable. So what's going to happen? Will this bill pass? Will Democrats in Congress force the president's hand on it, do you think?
I think it's unlikely that the bill will pass, but I need to also put a pat on the back to Congressman Lee Terry in the House from Nebraska, who has introduced a companion bill. To get it passed and get it through the House and the Senate, the president may veto the bill. I think that Harry Reid's more likely to block it instead, but the political pressure that's been brought forward today, I think, brings a decision closer. The president's going to have to step out of the way if he's going to be able to either that or he has to take a lot more political heat, Tucker.
So we've seen not just Solyndra, but a number of examples of crony capitalism where contributors, friends of the president, have been awarded contracts in so-called green energy companies that have failed. Republicans still hold the House. You have an oversight responsibility. You have subpoena power. Are we going to see vigorous oversight of these projects by the House of Representatives?
Well, I hope so. But, you know, the pattern and then the rhythm and the priorities that emerge through these committees are more or less selected out through the top for leadership. And as the more that we can call for that from the rank and file and from the American public, the more likely we are to get that kind of oversight. I think there are a number of things that this Congress should look into aggressively. That is one of them. They've had some hearings already on Keystone XL Pipeline in the previous Congress. Maybe it's time to bring them up again and put some more pressure on, and that would be my encouragement to the people that are making those calls, Tucker.
Well, sure, because the president doesn't hate all big business, just just the ones who aren't donating to him. And actually, there are a lot of people getting rich on this green energy stuff, and the public is getting shafted, and I hope you all call attention to it.
Well, it puts us at a disadvantage, a comparative disadvantage against other countries. And when you diminish America's industry, you're diminishing America's economic destiny at the same time, Tucker.
Amen. Congressman Steve King of Iowa, thanks very much for joining us.